Vinny the Chin Gigante. He's said to be one of the most powerful mobsters in America. His lawyers say he's insane, but tonight it appears Gigante will finally be brought to justice. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Watkins. Chuck is off. The mob may be about to take a big hit.
It's a story you'll see only on News Channel 4. It is all but certain that a federal judge will rule tomorrow that Gigante is sane, was sane, and is competent to stand trial. The boss of all bosses in the American Mafia will have to answer to murder and racketeering charges.
Your father, he is known for kind of adopting a certain persona, sort of crazy, sort of, I think the newspaper said the Oddfather. When did he start kind of getting into that character?
Oh, God. Because I was the last one, I remember him more like that than I do him dressing in a pair of black slacks with a T-shirt and, and a regular shirt, we'll say, and black shoes, right? So most of his persona was, I was 17, 18, 19 years old, and I'm 56 now. So 77, in the 80s, I would say. That all began in the 80s when he started to really rise up, and he didn't want someone to, when he thought the FBI was on his tail, this was how he chose to handle it.
I've heard you mention the shades were drawn. It was very dark. Once he was inside and the doors were shut, did he break character, or was he kind of always playing up to that crazy type of persona?
So, he would break character to a degree, I want to say, because he never knew if someone was listening, and the shades were shut because of cameras. The phone was off the hook because he wasn't sure if anybody was listening. So, but there were many times where, I would lay on his lap and he would, just rub my back till I fell asleep or something. And, sometimes there was music playing. He loved Elvis. So sometimes there was music playing, and, I was able to get him up and going a little bit with that. And, conversations weren't to the point where people would say he was lucid, and a lot of times he whispered. There was a lot of whispering going on. Even with us, his voice was very low.
What does that do to a child that, that he has his mind and that he's not crazy, but he's acting this way? You're only a child at the time. How does that affect you?
Yeah, I couldn't understand it at all because people would say to me, he's sick. They would all, and yes, I knew he had a heart condition, but I didn't understand the rest of it, and so that was the piece that really caused the anxiety and the panic. It was like nobody was telling me what the truth of anything. So I had to guess in my mind what was happening. And that was the scary part, because you know how your mind can go, right? Especially as a child. So it was very, very hard for me to understand. And I watched my mom, who was depressed a lot because of a lot of things, not just his life, but the other family that he had and everything. And so I just couldn't understand it, and nobody would help me to understand it. It was just accept it for what it is, and that's that, And somehow growing up in that life, you knew not to ask questions. My sister was the only one I went to, and even then it was vague. It was vague. It wasn't enough to help me to understand anything. And that would give me even more anxiety because I was thinking the worst,
Right. Now, you just mentioned it a second ago, and I've heard you mention this before, that he had another family. Did you know that as a child, or did you find that out later on?
Much later. I was in my 20s when I found out. Yeah, much later on. And it was not really spoken about. It's like we got told, and then we weren't allowed to express how we felt about it. It was just, we got told, and he said, I didn't do anything to you. I did it to your mother. And that was it. It was like, end of story. There's nothing left to talk about. And that was tough. That was tough. That was hurtful because everybody would have, a feeling about that, something that affects them about that. But he didn't want to know from it because he didn't want to deal with it.